Kam is a licensed marriage and family therapist with over 20 years of experience in the field of psychotherapy. Her approach is primarily cognitive behavioral and strength-based, and she places a strong emphasis on respectful communication, relationship dynamics, psychoeducation, and self-awareness. She is also a certified meditation teacher, encouraging and supporting a foundation of mindfulness. She is seeing more clients in her practice who are seeking the tool and technique of meditation as a modality to deal with workplace, relationship, and stress issues. Beverly is also an ordained minister of Kriya Yoga through the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment. The Center for Spiritual Enlightenment is a meditation center in the spiritual tradition of Kriya Yoga, welcoming people from all backgrounds who are seeking self and God realization, a path to spiritually conscious, fulfilled living. CSE World Headquarters is located not far from here in San Jose. Beverly Kam was initiated into Kriya Yoga in 2007 and ordained in 2014. She is a graduate of Meru Institute, serves on the board of the Silicon Valley Interreligious Council, and she serves as a representative of the Center for Spiritual Enlightenment in the Community Interfaith Dialogue. In addition to all of this, she maintains an active private practice as a licensed marriage and family therapist. Please help me welcome Beverly Kam.
Thank you, Debbie. Am I on here? No? Oh, because, just a second, I have all the electronics I need to adjust. Should be on now. And I probably should have turned my cell phone off before I did that in case it went off. Airplane mode, yes. So hello, all of you. It's my great pleasure to be with you this morning as I offer my talk on meditation, how that might help you, affect you, interest you, challenge you, whatever that might be. So, as you can see, I titled my talk The Art and Science of Meditation because it is both. It is both an art and a science. There's more research now that shows what happens when we meditate, which is very affirming. And then we have the actual practice, where we get to sit on the cushion and we get to experience what that might be. You've heard my background, and I might show up as a seeker, which I am. I have dabbled in many different things. Should I not walk around? Like try to stay? Okay. I have always been a spiritual seeker. From a very young age, I believed that there was something more, but I didn't want to give it a definition, a name, or limitations. So along the way, I tried out many other religious traditions. Because it's important to me to try it out, see how it fits, see how it applies. Does it work for me? Is it something that I want to continue? I've looked at this for a long time, and I continue to even look, when I'm at CSE, even serving as a minister there or a community member, I still watch to see, do people walk their talk? There's a sense of authenticity and genuineness and integrity that I search out wherever I might be and wherever I might land. So along the way, I did try or learn about Christianity. My mother was a Methodist, and so we went to our fundamental United Methodist Church every Sunday, and I went to Sunday school and asked all my questions and really didn't get any satisfactory answers that were adequate for me, so I kept scratching my head. I tried Catholicism, Judaism, Buddhism, paganism, all the isms, because nothing seemed to really work in my life. When I found Center for Spiritual Enlightenment, at that time I identified as a church of one. spiritual but not religious. And so I showed up a little skeptical, wanting to know what was this place, what was it all about. And when I walked in, I noticed the symbols of the religions of the world. And I thought, well, okay, that's a good sign. Apparently they welcome everyone like they say they do in their literature. And now let's see how true that might be. I stayed. I continued to study. I continued to go deeper and deeper into the teachings of Kriya Yoga, and I'll explain that in a little bit, as well as joining the Meru Seminary. This was a huge step for me. As a psychotherapist, you know, I always believed that when I would sit with people, frequently I would get the sense of an ache in their soul, whatever that might be. That it wasn't so much the stress or the marriage or the job, but there was a hunger, there was an ache, there was something hurting at their very core. And I wanted a chance to be able to address that. So I thought, well, if I go to seminary and get the initials Masters of Divinity after my name, maybe that would invite people to talk about their spiritual life. It really didn't make any difference whatsoever, but I did get a second master's. And along the way, it was very, very interesting. So Kriya Yoga is defined as a process, procedure, or action. Kriya means action that produces results. And yoga is bringing together one's action and awareness. So I like the concept of it being active, action-oriented, and inclusive of who we are, what we do, how we show up in the world. So it is not a religion, but it is a spiritual practice. We have people from many religious traditions in our community. And during our worship services, we address the different world religions and try to offer teachings or quotes from them to show that there is a commonality, to show that there is something that is fundamental to all of the different religious traditions that people are searching for. It blends practical living with intensive, concentrated spiritual practice, and our primary practice is concentration meditation. Now, meditation used to be practiced mainly in monasteries by monks cloistered away from the world. Now it is commonly talked about, discussed, see it on magazine covers, hear it on Oprah. It's widely practiced by men, women, and children in schools, corporations, and even prisons. I was at El Camino Hospital, was it yesterday? Friday. And it was continuing education for therapists. We had someone there speaking about gender issues, and then mindfulness, and then internet pornography. So the mindfulness piece was very interesting to me because she talked about how at El Camino Hospital they have all these different programs and they offer it to the staff, to patients, and I thought that was wonderful that a hospital, an organization like this, would be so welcoming to something like meditation. And of course CSC does have a program called Carry the Vision, and they train meditation teachers to go out into the community, and they have gone into schools and elementary schools teaching meditation to teachers and the students. They've also gone into prisons, Elmwood, they have both the men and the women. They have some teachers that go into, I believe it's the maximum security. I've heard other teachers describe it where I guess all you can see are the people's eyes looking at you. And so the challenge as a meditation teacher is how do you connect with people through this door with just a small slit where you can see them and they can see you. It happens. It happens. And it's very, very inspiring. Now, it's just sort of a background to remind you that meditation and relaxation is not something new. In 1975, Herbert Benson, a physician at Beth Israel Hospital in Massachusetts, and associate professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School, published a groundbreaking book called The Relaxation Response. In it, he described how relaxation techniques such as meditation can lead to physical benefits like reduced blood pressure and a reduction in heart disease. So he was able to link this ability to relax, to meditate, to get quiet, to our physical system. How can we affect our blood pressure, our heart rate, our stress levels? Now, since then, many books and research projects have been published showing the consistent benefits of incorporating activities like meditation into our lifestyle. So I'm wondering how many of you meditate. Can you just show me by a raise of hands how many of you meditate? Thank you. And I'm also, and then there are people pointing fingers at others saying, and I also believe that meditation doesn't have to necessarily be a formal practice of sitting on a cushion. It can be as we go through life. It can be as we walk down the street and appreciate nature and look into other people's eyes and see their essence. It can even be, and here's my challenge, driving. That's my edge. How can I see the divinity in everyone as I'm driving and someone cuts me off? It gives me that wonderful chance to breathe, to recognize, all right, Bev, how are you going to lower your own blood pressure, your heart rate? Are you going to carry this experience with you until you get to wherever you're going? Or are you going to let it go now? So in my own meditation, I've learned how to let things go. Let things go. And I will give you a warning. I would like to lead you through a short meditation. But what that does for us is it helps us practice how to let things go, whether thoughts, feelings, sensations, noise, whatever it might be. I was telling my son this story that I had heard about two Buddhist monks, and they were walking along quite a long way. One was older, one was younger. And in their tradition, they were not, it was not allowed to, touch the opposite sex. So they're walking along, they come to a river, and some of you may have heard this, and I apologize if I'm not quite quoting it correctly, but this is how I remember it. And so they came to a river, and there was a woman there, and she said, "Oh, kind monks, please help me across the river. I can't cross this on my own." And the younger one said, "Oh, nope, nope, not allowed, no way." The older one said, "Yes, let me carry you." Carried her across the river. Got to the other side, set her down, thank you, off they go. Walk, walk, walk. The two monks get to wherever it is they're going, and the younger one says, "I must say, I can't believe that you carried this woman, you touched a woman, and you carried her across the river. How could you do that?" And the older one turns to the younger one and says, "I set her down when we got to the other side of the river. You have carried her the rest of the way." And I thought, how wonderful. Those teaching stories are so powerful. And I think there is an element of storytelling that we love. I can remember being a child, even now, listening to stories and the impact that they have on us. So my son has been able, I'm joking because clearly he's listened to me. He's 22 now. He's at UCLA getting his master's, yay. I'm going to get to see him next weekend when he drives home. But occasionally he would say, "Mom, you didn't set this down when you crossed the river." It's like, drop it. Especially if it had something to do with him, right? It's like, drop it, Mom, done. Okay, anyway. But he listened. And he is doing really well. I am very, very proud of him. So getting back to meditation, there are various forms. And like we mentioned, there's walking meditation, there's mantra meditation, mindfulness meditation is big. You hear about it at Google and Facebook and Apple. I don't know if Apple. I know Google definitely, but I'm sure all the tech companies must have something like that. As a little aside, I heard that Steve Jobs on his deathbed was recommending and handing out Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, one of our teachers. And so that has also really been interesting for me to hear. Not that any of us should ever be put into a pigeonhole, but someone with that life experience would be interested in reading something like that, and I recommend it to everyone, and find value in it. I just thought that was a kind of interesting story. So mindfulness meditation versus what I practice, which is concentration meditation. They're very, very similar in that both focus on the present moment with awareness and acceptance of thoughts and physical sensations. In mindfulness meditation, we notice what thoughts arise, what sensations we might feel, and without judgment, we let them go. We notice, we let them go. We notice, we let, so that we don't become attached to that. In my mind, the way I interpret it, the idea is not to be attached to whatever it might be, a thought, a feeling. In meditation, they've also studied pain, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Later on in on my resources slide, I have a reference to somebody who's been studying chronic pain. There are many, many ways that we can practice and find usefulness in meditation. Now, in concentration meditation, remember it's similar to mindfulness. We're aware of our thoughts, our feelings without judgment. But then there's an added emphasis on focusing on a single point. And that point could be breathing, it could be a phrase, it could be an image. Some people focus on the top of their head. Some people focus on their forehead area. Whatever it might be, there's a single point. And when we go through our little meditation, that point for us is going to be breathing. Because as I tell many of my clients, it's always with us. We need to do it. We frequently don't pay attention to it. And here's the other thing I've learned, because what I do has to fit into my life. Likewise with clients. What we work on has to work in your life. So take that under consideration as you listen to what I'm going to suggest, in that when I'm at a stoplight, there's the time I can breathe. I'm not going anywhere, certainly not going to close my eyes and go into a deep meditation, but I can sit there and then focus on my breathing. How am I doing? How's the breathing? Or when I'm in line, instead of getting all urgent about how late I might be or all the other errands I have to do and why can't people move faster and how many items does that person have in their cart anyway and how many items do I have in mine and maybe I should pretend, you know, it's really 1 instead of 6. So I can just stand and I can breathe, adjust my posture, look around, hear the store sounds, the music, the lights, whatever it might be. And then also relate to other people, because it's very interesting. You know, sometimes when, I don't know about elevators, they're still kind of awkward for me, but you know, you're standing around and you look at somebody and you make a connection. It's just kind of fun. Or there's something going on, the two of you look at each other and like there's this telepathy about, oh yeah, like look at that, or whatever it might be. It's just, for me, it helps me pass the time. It's amusing. But I want to encourage you to use even moments like that to practice meditation, to breathe, to be present, available to the moment. Let me just check. So what I would like to do, as I've given you several warnings now, is to do just a really short meditation. And for those of you that do have a practice, feel free to go into that process on your own. For those of you that are interested or may not be that either comfortable or aware of meditation, I'm going to talk you through a certain part of it, and then I'm going to be quiet while we sit in the silence. So first of all, find a comfortable posture. In your chair, sit comfortably. Let your body feel totally supported so that it can rest and your mind doesn't have to worry about it. Let your feet be on the floor, hands resting in your lap, however you're most comfortable. Keeping your spine straight, imagine each vertebrae stacked one on top of the other, so you have a column. And then let your head rest comfortably on your neck, so you can imagine a stack of blocks. And if you need to adjust your head in case it's too far forward or too far back, just do so. Move around in your chair a little bit, because the point is we want our body to just be. It doesn't have to do anything for us while we sit in meditation. The chair is supporting it. Let your chin be parallel to the floor so your head isn't leaning forward or backwards. Move your shoulders back and down, opening up the chest area so you can breathe easily. And close your eyes if you're comfortable doing that, or if you prefer, you can keep them open, but just softly focused on some point in front of you. Now, letting your body remain relaxed, turn your attention and awareness to your internal experience. Try not to be distracted by sounds around you or sensations in your body. If you need to shift a little bit to get more comfortable, please do so. This is not supposed to be painful. Let your mind be receptive to the experience while you remain alert and aware. Focus on your breathing. Feel the air as it enters your nostrils. Notice how it feels when it moves down into your lungs. Feel its warmth as you exhale. Continue to breathe gently. And now you could bring your attention, if you like, to the top of your head or the area between your eyebrows and slightly above. Or you can just keep focusing on your breathing. Get a sense of the rhythm as you inhale and exhale gently. If you notice thoughts, just let them drift by. You don't need to pay any attention to them. Like clouds in the sky, let your thoughts go by while you invite your mind to settle. Continuing to turn inward as you breathe, letting your mind rest. If you become distracted by sounds outside or inside, or notice that you become caught up in thought, just inwardly smile and return to the rhythm of your breathing. So I'm going to remain silent for a few moments so we can more deeply meditate together. When the time is up, I'll ring the chime, And you can gently open your eyes while appreciating any peace and relaxation you may have noticed. So let's take a few moments in silence, breathing, meditating, resting in peace. So when you're ready, gently open your eyes and return to the room, noticing any moments of peace, quiet, relaxation that you might have experienced. Feel yourself in the chair, reconnect with the noises around you, temperature in the room, the sound of my voice. And one of the questions becomes, well, why meditate? And there are many reasons that people seek it out, whether at the hospitals or in the schools with the teachers and the students, or at places like CSE where it's a part of our practice. People talk about wanting peace. So frequently meditation helps us find that peace and access that peace of mind, relaxation in the body. And then hopefully it results in peace between us and among us. An increased sense of compassion and feeling at one with all of humankind. Some people might search it out for personal growth reasons. You know, they want to be more calm, more patient, more present, and actually more resilient. I've noticed in my own life that it's helped my resiliency. Just like my son kindly reminds me, sometimes I get caught up in things and I need to learn how to let things go and bounce back. Meditation has done that for me, and it has certainly helped me be calmer. I can be a pretty intense person. I remember when I was a child, someone had said, you know, Bev, you don't have to be a Mack truck. And at that time, I wasn't quite sure what a Mack truck was. So I had to look it up, and I thought, oh, okay, well, good feedback. I guess I'm making an impression with this person, but I'll try to rein it in a little bit. So it has helped me calm down and be able to surf more with life's little, waves. One of the biggest things, I think, is the health benefits that people find from it. Regardless of one's belief, I think what we want is to feel healthy and whole, strong, vibrant. And if meditation is going to help us do that, well then, hallelujah. So, stress reduction. We've talked about blood pressure. Some people comment that it does help them sleep. I use it frequently to help me fall asleep. Confession time. One of the things we're told is meditation is not sleeping, but it does help me relax. And sometimes in order to get into that zone where I can let go and fall asleep, I will try to meditate. It's not the end of the meditation and the sleep, but it does help me. So it's a tool that I use between you and me and the camera and the tape and whatever else is running. And then there's also stress management. So people frequently come in and they say, you know what, I'm an engineer, I'm a manager, I'm a mother, I'm an unemployed father, I'm the parents of small children, whatever it is, right? They come in and they say, I need to learn how to handle this because I'm on the edge. I'm irritable, I'm flying off the handle. People around me are saying, you know what, you got to get some help on this because it's not helping you. So they'll come in and they say they want help with stress management. And then, because I have on my website about the meditation, right, I want to invite. I don't ever want to impose on someone. So they'll say, maybe you could teach me how to meditate a little bit. And I'll say, okay, let's do it. And then you tell me how it works, because it's got to work in your life, right? So other than stress management, people have noticed increased concentration and focus, and definitely creativity. Again, in my own life, and everybody has their own story, and I would love to hear your own stories about this. But what I've noticed is that when I meditate and get quiet and even close my eyes, ideas will come, insights will come. And I think a lot of us have heard that, I was taking a shower and boom, like, oh, that's right. Or I'm driving down the street and boom, there it is. The one I like is when we do a jigsaw puzzle and we can't find that one piece, and we look and we look and we look and can't find it. We walk away, come back, and there's that piece right in front of us. Someone took it and then they put it back while we were gone, clearly. But I think it's just so interesting how when we take a break from whatever it is we're focusing on, something clears, our mind clears, something happens, and we can get some of these insights and creativity. The juices start flowing. So just contemplate, why would you want to meditate? And like I said, we all have many different reasons, and at different times the reason may change. But why would you want to meditate? And then structurally, I have a handout for this. Structurally, what I did with you is I led you through 4 specific phases. And these 4 stages we follow regardless of how short or long our meditation is. The time we sat together was almost 10 minutes. Not quite, but almost. Even if it's a very short meditation, you're going to go through the 4 stages. They're very important. The first one was approach. So, a space. I didn't have the lights dimmed, but you might want to think about that in terms of the external space. Timing, I'm assuming we're not too tired or too hungry or full. We don't feel too sick. So you also want to time your meditation. You want it to be able to support the experience. If you're sleepy, you may fall asleep. When I first started meditating, I would kind of nod out once in a while. And when I would raise my hand and say, by the way, what I was told was, maybe you need to get more sleep. It was a very kind statement. It's like, oh, okay, thank you. I will, because I was exhausted. Or another true confession, whether you want it or not. We were in a workshop and we were told, okay, so go to lunch, and then when you get back, we're going to have some yoga, we're going to meditate. Do not eat a big lunch. And remember, when I first started talking today, I said, one of my things is I've got to test it out. Another diversion. When I was a child, my mother, and those electric stoves came out with just the coils, my mom said, Bevy, do not touch this. It's hot. Well, boom! Ah! I found out for myself. So I'm always testing. Go to lunch. Guess what I have? A huge vegetarian burrito. Oh, it was great. Except when I had to go through the yoga and then to do the meditation, and then I knew why they said, don't eat too much before you come back. But I learned, this is how I learn. I will never do that again. Either that or I won't go, to yoga or meditation after having my delicious burrito. But anyway. And then you also want to minimize distractions. So no phones if you can, no pets. I have a couple of cats, and even if I close the door, they scratch, and so I can't really meditate at home. No people, unless you have supportive folks around you who respect the meditating sign and know what that means. And don't stand outside the door making lots of noise to get your attention. And then also the upright posture. That's really important. We don't want to fall asleep, but we don't want to be uncomfortable. And here's something else that you might want to think about. What I've been taught is that with the upright posture, it helps the energy in our body and in our spine. So do with that whatever you want, but that's one of the reasons I've been given about having an upright posture. It supports the meditation and energizing in the brain. So you're going to still in the first stage, and you're going to turn your attention inward. So when I was guiding you, okay, now turn your attention inward, that was the end of the approach stage. And then we got to the technique when I said, okay, now focus on your breathing. Or, but just breathe. That's the technique. If you get distracted, just go back to breathing. That's the technique. Then when we went into silence and we could meditate, hopefully you did experience some rest and peace and relaxation. I'm hoping that you were able to experience breathing gently and softly and feel the rhythm of your own body, because your body knows what it needs to do. We're always breathing. Let's pay attention to the quality of that breath. And then also I'm hoping that in that short time your mind was allowed to settle and the thoughts could rest. Our minds are so busy. They're made to be busy. They're made to analyze, compare, contrast, evaluate, chew. That's what it does. Yay! But there are times when we need to say, rest now. You don't need to work right now. It's okay. Rest. Be quiet like a puppy dog, finding that comfortable spot and then sleeping. Let your mind rest. Like, sometimes when I'm working with people, I'll say it's like, you've got this dust storm going on in your head, and we just have to find a way to wait until you notice the dust is settling. Or there's a fog, and we have to wait till the fog clears and we can see our way. So, just try these on for yourself. I'm giving you a lot of suggestions so you can play around with it. And then lastly, we had our conclusion where I rang the chime and I said, now, return your awareness to the room, sounds, sensations, so forth. And remember, I have a handout out here that describes those 4 stages in greater detail. So please feel free to take that and anything else at the table you like. Some of the other handouts I have are Zen and the Art of Corporate Productivity. Scientific minds want to know. Meditation gives brain a charge. This is your brain on mindfulness. So when I did my thesis to get out of seminary, I did it on meditation. And at that time, this was in 2012, a lot of the studies I was looking at had those wonderful brain scans where parts of our brains would light up and all that great stuff, and the different like theta and beta and alpha, and clearly you can tell it, that went over my brain. But it was so fascinating. I thought, wow. Because the other thing I realized were the monks that would say, focus on the third eye, this area that's called the third eye sometimes, they would sit and they would om or whatever and focus on the third eye. Well, now, in my layman's knowledge, I realize that's the prefrontal cortex right there in the front of our brain. So when we're told to meditate and focus on the front of our brain, what are we doing? I'm thinking we're activating that area, the executive functioning, that area where it helps us evaluate when we come out of meditation, evaluate and be able to assess and really reason some things out. It really heightens areas of the brain, as well as calm down the amygdala and, the fight and flight area. So if you would like to learn more about meditation, CSE does have free meditation classes. And those classes are the first Sunday of each month and then the third Monday of each month. The Sunday is in the afternoon and Mondays are in the evening. The first class I ever went to was the one in the evening because there was no way I was going to get out of the house in the daytime. So feel free to visit our website. They have more information on the how to meditate classes as well as other things that might be supportive. And the teachers that go through there are always rotating through. A lot of them are the Institute, the seminarians now. The name got changed to Meru Institute. But they are still teachers in training. And so you get to hear different exposure of how people see this. They teach the same thing. You'll hear it if you go many, many times. But they all have a different take on it, which is really, really helpful. And you can go to those classes as often as you like. I'm personally inviting you to those. And then the resources that I mentioned earlier, I wasn't able to photocopy these for you, but I think you should be able to get them online, or if you need these references, I can send them to you. Just let me know. There's the chronic pain article that I had mentioned, and then the Harvard neuroscientists. There's a group of people in Harvard that are studying meditation and the brain, using either monks or students, or, evaluating and comparing those. And then Forever Young, how meditation might slow the age-related loss of gray matter. And when I read this study, I thought it was kind of interesting, because they do come out with some of their conclusions, but then they also offer, however, like I think all good researchers should do. However, the sample size might have been a little small, it might have been skewed in this direction, we're continuing to look at it and research it. So that aspect I really appreciated, that don't just take this for face value, try it on. Work with it, see if it applies, take what works and leave the rest, as they say. We all have beautiful brains, use them. And then my second slide, Barry Boyce, Mindfulness Revolution. That is a lot more about Buddhism, I think. Sharon Bagley, I think Time, she's a science writer. I've followed her articles through the years. Train Your Mind, Change Your Brain. And then, of course, Herbert Benson. So, classic. So I'd like to finish up with just a brief statement. The art and science of meditation combines knowledge and technological tools we have today with the simple act of sitting in meditation. The studies are there, the research is continuing, the external supports are available for our meditation practice. The key, however, that will unlock the universe within you is up to you. You are the one who needs to practice daily. You are the one who needs to approach your meditation time with an open mind and heart and the willingness to receive. Each time we meditate, it is a unique experience and valuable in and of itself. So I hope you have found my presentation interesting and that you enjoyed the meditation experience. If you would like to reach me, Debbie does have my email address, and you're welcome to contact me. I'm going to close now and open our time for Q&A. And so this is a picture of our labyrinth. I've got some flyers up here. We have a labyrinth at CSC. And it's a picture of the labyrinth and some of the garden. We have extensive meditation gardens. We have a fountain. We have a radiant path with different sayings along the way. And the whole, if you haven't been there, please try to visit. And I used to be on staff there. I'm not anymore, but I would tell people, if you're going to come and you want me to meet you, let me know and I'll give you a tour. It's such a beautiful place. Try to come and visit and sit. People come and have their lunch there. They meditate there. Sometimes they just walk the grounds. People definitely use the labyrinth, so come and do that. So, thank you again for your kind attention. May I open it to questions and comments? Thank you. Hi, yes. Oh, okay, thank you. Shout it out. I know. I was... Remember, I can be like a Mack truck.
Thank you. I guess endorse is not the proper word because each person is different in what works. But I've been using relaxation response for over 35 years. And I think it's great for those who it works for. Interestingly, I learned it during Lamaze training from a Finnish lady who taught us more, and we knew more about childbirth and meditation than the nurses and doctors at the hospital. I was the one that had to recognize transition. They were clueless.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely breathing, huh? Breathing.
Anyone else have questions?
Well, it's not a question, it's just a comment. There's a new book out called Altered Traits, which is basically about the science and you know, what's going on in the brain. That they've looked at the electrical, I can't remember whether it was MRIs or CAT scans or whatever. And one of the nice things about these books is if you get tired of all the details, they have something called in a nutshell sections. So you can get a lot of information out of about 8 pages.
Very nice. Do you remember the author? Altered Traits?
No, I don't remember the authors. I think they're both Harvard guys, and they have an institute in, I think it's somewhere in Wisconsin, maybe in Madison, that has been doing research for a while. And
fabulous.
And they, for a while, they couldn't get any of those Tibetan monks to come. But finally, somebody they knew who knew them and knew, you know, was respected by the Tibetan monks told them about it, and they ended up getting quite a few, and that part's really fascinating. Oh yeah, one other thing is it turns out that the more meditation you do, the more benefit you get, but even a small amount helps.
Yes, very good point. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
Could you discuss the relationship between meditation and self-hypnosis and silent prayer for those who are religious?
Well, I always have to do the caveat. I'm not an authority on this. Definitely search it out for yourself. However, in my experience, silent prayer is very much like meditation. In fact, when I said that there are different ways of meditating, one of them is, I think, centering prayer, silent prayer, contemplative prayer, where we go inward, we calm down, we might repeat something. So sometimes my meditation does consist of that when I'm especially challenged or facing something difficult. My meditation can even become like a prayer, and I don't know if I'm answering your question. The self-hypnosis, it doesn't seem to apply as much. It's not like an affirmation where we say, you know, I'm strong and vital and I'm going to run the Boston Marathon, you know, where we kind of implant something. The concentration meditation is more just being open and available. And that's how I would view the self-hypnosis, where I'm trying to kind of implant something to change my behavior or a thought or an experience, versus just staying open to whatever might come in the time of meditation. Hi.
Hi. So the little bit that I know about meditation, one part of it was that you want, or one of the goals is to have your mind free of any thoughts, just blank and not being, well, not concentrating on anything. So I'm confused by the word concentration meditation, because that seems different than that goal.
Yeah, I understand that, because the different types of meditation can be very confusing, and what I understand about perhaps Zen meditation is that there is a quality of wanting to empty one's mind or go into emptiness or have no thought. And again, a layperson's view of it is that I don't think my mind could ever have no thought. And if that kind of meditation was requiring that of me, I probably wouldn't stay with it. That being said, with the concentration meditation, yeah, the concentration is on breathing, let's say, because the point is we don't want our mind to wander about. We want it to to focus on something. So let's say the breathing. So that the mind has that to chew on, to try to settle down. But we don't get caught up in, okay, now I'm breathing, now I'm breathing, now I'm breathing, because that's thought, right? And it gets it all agitated. So sometimes I'll describe it as cars on a highway. You're on the overpass and you see all these different cars, all these different colors, going different speeds, different directions. Well, those are your thoughts. What you look for is the road, the thing that doesn't change. Or trains, some people have talked about it as boxcars. So you see all these boxcars on the train going by, but what you look for is that space between the cars. The steadiness, the thing that doesn't change. Does that kind of help clarify it for you?
Hi. That was a very good talk, thank you. I'm always interested in the big picture, and I'd like to know if you have some of these leaders of government, our own president, North Korea, Russia, and do they ever come down to this position of thinking about the health of the planet than themselves?
Gosh. That's my dream, that's my fantasy, that's my prayer. Wouldn't that be fabulous? Yeah, I really truly do fantasize about things like that. If you have people in power, let's say, people influencing many, many lives, wouldn't it be wonderful if they had the time of meditation, of self-reflection, of knowing that, you know, we're all in this together and we're all one. It's not me versus you versus them. And so what I think, you know, my own agenda, and I think what CSE would also agree to, is that we do have a goal in that we offer meditation freely as many places as we can to as many people. Let them come, let them go, let them experience it, hoping that with that meditation it goes out. Right, so I might have people from, and I do have people from tech firms come in and they learn this, and maybe they'll take it to their team, maybe they'll take it to their managers, maybe they'll recommend it. And like I said, you know, the Google and the Facebooks, they are kind of into that, and I appreciate that. So, you know, keep the dream alive, and do what you can do as an individual. So sometimes, you know, I'll hear people talk about Trump versus Clinton versus I don't know who, and to me that's still divisiveness. So I would sometimes have to figure out a compassionate way to make the statement of, but you know, they're us too. So rather than demonizing or labeling people, let's see them in the light that we claim we believe, in hopes that something will change. But yeah, keep your dream alive. I'm with you. I think a lot of people are with you. Yeah.
Arthur Jackson here. I guess meditation has a lot of possibilities of how it can be interpreted. And I guess that's maybe why there's a lot of different fields of meditation, and each has their own model. I was introduced very briefly to meditation 40 years ago or whatever, and never got into it as a practice, but it was sort of always on my mind. And I think I used those kinds of processes sometimes when I needed a little relaxation or whatever. But one thing that sort of came to me in somewhat recent time was the recognition of the human body as a oneness, and it seemed to me important, if we're going to behave in our best way possible, that we recognize every part of it as being part of us. And so I have trouble sleeping, and I have dealt with it by counting, since I can't see sheep when I'm asleep. And it sort of came to me that if I could just go through an inventory of all my organs that I can name and say we are connected, my eyebrow is connected to my eyelid, etc., with the hope that that would unify me so I wouldn't let a feeling get in the way of a being. So I don't know how that fits in the greater scheme of things, but I feel it's an important realization that I've had.
No, that was beautiful, and I love the term unity, and all the parts are part of the one, and they are connected. I mean, even we can think of the human body, we can also think of us as a society, as on the planet, in the solar system. I don't know, but thank you, Arthur.
I think the value of meditation for me is kind of philosophical. It's emptying the brain of judgments, of divisiveness, of polarization. And the time when I have the best meditation, actually, and I'm glad you mentioned this, is when I take my daily hikes up in the mountains, where I notice that the value of being in the wilds is judgments disappear. You don't look at a tree and say it's unbalanced, it's insane, it should be straight, it shouldn't be asymmetrical. You accept the wilds as being absolutely perfect. And so walks in the wilds is a beautiful form of meditation when the judgments can slip away. Once you get back into civilization, you start attributing blame to your neighbor's garden that has too many weeds, the dog that's messed in the yard, the car that's cutting in front of you, and you're blaming and accusing right and left.
Beautifully stated, and nature is just divine. It's, place of worship. Thank you for that comment.
Yes, I have a question about certain kinds of physical activity, such as this gentleman we're mentioning. It would seem to me are a type of meditation. And I'm referring just to long-distance running and to like lap swimming. And it seems to me that those are meditative states that you get into where you are concentrating on the breath and one thing, continuing forward. And the other thing I wanted to mention was that I read somewhere that there's a physiological reaction to the way your breaths are timed, so that on the inspiration is a certain length, and the expiration is much longer, that it relaxes your body. So that actually, if you just know that one simple fact, that if you breathe in and count to 5, and you breathe out and count to 10 a few times, you're probably going to relax.
Yeah, that's a really important point. And again, when I talk to people and explain the importance of breathing, I'll tell them, the in-breath is reflexive. We gasp. The exhale isn't so much. And again, surprise, surprise, I discovered this experimenting with myself. So I decided I would exhale, and then I would keep exhaling to see how much longer I could exhale after I thought I had all the breath out. Well, I kept going, and I thought, whoa, that's kind of cool. So I would tell people, just like you said, exhale longer than you inhale. And I also tell them that way we can really get the air out of our lungs. It helps us fill the lungs with good fresh air, because I used to be a very shallow breather, and still when I get anxious I'll hold my breath. But then I would wonder, well, why can't I take a breath? Why can't I breathe? Well, it's because I don't think I really emptied my lungs to begin with. And then I'm trying to force more air in there, and then I can't breathe, and then I get anxious, and I have a panic attack. So it's like, make sure you exhale longer than you think you can. It's kind of amazing. And then gently inhale, because I will say, now I don't want you to hyperventilate and faint. So just gently, the rhythm again. So that's a very good point. Thank you for bringing it up.